Welcome to a special episode of Strong Sense of Place. Last January, we announced that we were going to rent a manor house in Wales and fill it with readers. And we were going to do it twice, once on the weekend of October 9th and then again on the 16th. At the time, that sentence felt a little bit like saying, we're going to move into a Gothic novel and invite 40 of our internet friends to come live there with us.
Dream come true.
It was exciting and a little ridiculous and also a little terrifying. Would anyone actually sign up? Would we accidentally invent the world's most introverted house party? These are questions to be answered. So fast forward to autumn. We are standing in Trevor Hall, this big, bonkers 18th century brick manor on a hill above a little village called Llangollen. And we are late.
Completely my fault.
We've planned this thing for a year and a half, but somehow we're 10 minutes late. There is already a coach outside with a busload of Strong Sense of Place listeners, and they're getting off with their suitcases and their books and their raincoats. And we're thinking, oh, this is real now. We're doing this. These are actual humans. We have, in fact, invited them to live in a Gothic novel with us for the weekend. This little mini episode is our report back on that experiment. But more than that, it's a story about what it's like to step inside of a bookish weekend with strangers who don't feel like strangers for very long. We are going to talk about why we did it in the first place, what it was like to gather in Manchester, England, and then roll into North Wales together, what it felt like to actually live in a manor house for a few days, the food and the walks and the parlor games and the quiet moments with books, and what surprised us in good and occasionally exhausting ways. This is a little bit different from our usual episodes. We are still talking about a sense of place and story, but this time we're the ones in the story. If you were there with us, this is a chance to revisit it. If you couldn't come, or if you're just curious about what happens when you put a bunch of bookish strangers in a big creaky house in the Welsh countryside, we're going to take you along for the highlights and the oddities and a little bit about what we learned making a place for readers in the real world. We have a loose outline and some questions, and we're mostly going to interview each other and see what memories fall out. We're going to walk through the schedule, and then we're going to go back and talk about some things that caught our attention. In the end, we're going to talk a little bit about our post-Manor House adventures in Wales. Then we'll talk about a couple of takeaways for people who might not ever get to Wales. So let's get into it. Let's start with a recap of the weekend itself so you can picture it. I should mention that if you want to see photos of any of this, you can go to strongsenseofplace.com/weekend. There's also a link there to see the menu so you can see most of what we ate that week and see pictures of the other people who were involved in this production. So in the months before we ever got to Wales, we already started hanging out together online. We did little manor house tea parties on Zoom. We talked about parlor games. Mel had a class in folding Victorian letters. We had a book club. We'll talk more about that in a second. And we generally tried to make it so that by the time we were standing in front of each other, we felt a little more like friends.
So I am so grateful for Zoom because it gave us an opportunity to get to know people a little bit.
Yeah.
But one of the things that's very challenging for Zoom for me is that I feel incredibly awkward the entire time.
Yeah.
Something about everyone being in their little boxes and you don't get the normal overlap of conversation and you can see yourself. I'm very distracted by looking at my own face for that long. So I just feel a little awkward on Zoom. And the thing that really stands out to me is that both guest groups each weekend are such nice people that awkwardness was really diminished for me. Everyone was so friendly and engaged that my weird feelings kind of went away, and that was amazing. I will also say that the bossy wannabe teacher in me also really loved the day we folded the Victorian letters. Was there a particular moment after we'd come up with this idea that you thought, yes, this is going to work?
I always felt like it was going to work. I think there was a moment at like maybe the second to last Zoom, I think we did 4 of them, where I realized that everybody who was coming was talking to each other. Mm-hmm. And they were talking to each other in a very kind of like natural, way, right?
Yeah.
They were using the chat, but they were also just discussing things and conversation was kind of going on. And I was like, okay, I feel like we have a little bit of a community now.
I think that's also the Zoom where they asked me to create a WhatsApp group so that they could talk to each other without us.
Yeah.
Which was amazing.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. I always thought it was going to work. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, here we are.
Yeah, that was logistics aside, like our planning and having all of our ducks in a row, taking all of that for granted.
Right.
That was when it felt like, oh, the vibe we want is possible.
Yeah.
And people are going to become friends.
Yeah.
And that's going to be amazing.
Yeah. So then the official weekend started on Thursday in Manchester. Everyone made their way into the city. They did their own exploring of bookshops and libraries. And then that evening, we took over a pub in our little hotel. We met in a place called the Abel Haywood, in part because it had a very English vibe to it. I really wanted something where people were going to get off the plane or get off a train and go to a place and be very clear that they were in England. and the Abel Haywood definitely did that for us. They have hardwood floors and Victorian illustrations, and they're very welcoming. Plus, we could take over the whole thing, right? They had 14 rooms and we took 13 of them. And when we got together, it felt good.
It did.
I don't know how to explain that otherwise. It felt like a community gathering.
Mm-hmm.
We met around 7:00 that night. We had a toast. We had a group book exchange. People brought a book they loved and sent it home with somebody new. It was loud and warm and slightly chaotic in the best way. Were you more nervous or more relaxed after that pub gathering?
I had two experiences happening simultaneously. One, I was very excited to see everyone and to meet them in person. And it felt like running into old friends in person because we hadn't ever met face to face before. So it was that experience of, I know you, but I haven't seen this face
Right.
in 3D. So that felt really good. But then there was also a tiny bit of nervousness underneath it because, oh boy, I didn't want to disappoint anybody.
Yeah.
I really wanted everyone to feel welcome. I wanted them to know how much I appreciated them being there. I wanted them to have a good time with each other. And yeah, I'm happy to carry that burden for a group of 20 people, apparently. So I feel like I just walk around with maybe an outsized amount of confidence. So I never doubted that this was going to be okay.
Right.
But did you have a kind of, oh, wow, people really came sort of moment in Manchester?
It was kind of like what you were talking about, where people walked into the room that I knew from Zoom, but had never seen in person. And it was just kind of delightful to see them in person. Felt a little bit like, it was like seeing people show up for my favorite TV show in person, right? And you're just like, oh, whoa, that's cool. They exist. They're a person.
I think from the other side, too, people were a little surprised at how tall you are. Since you only hear our voices, you might not know that Dave is about
3.5 feet tall.
6'5".
Yeah.
A little bit bigger than your average bear.
So Friday morning, we all met up for a proper breakfast at the hotel, full English. And then we piled into a private coach for a short ride to Elizabeth Gaskell's house. I have never been so tense waiting for a bus in my entire life.
Same.
I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but there is a big difference between waiting for a bus to show up and renting a bus and hoping that all of the schedules and the driver and everything connected and they're going to find you and you don't have to think about what the backup plan is for getting 24 people from Manchester out into the country.
One of the nights leading up to our event, I had a dream that we showed up and I'd gotten the date wrong.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah. The bus did show up.
It did.
The driver was delightful.
Pete.
And then we went to the Elizabeth Gaskell house. Do you want to tell them who Elizabeth Gaskell is?
Yeah. So Elizabeth Gaskell, in case you're not familiar with her name, was a 19th century writer. She wrote the novels North and South and Mary Barton, among other novels. She also wrote a bunch of Gothic stories. She was very good friends with Charlotte Bronte during Charlotte's life. And then when Charlotte died, Patrick Bronte, Charlotte's father, commissioned Elizabeth Gaskell to write Charlotte's first biography. My impression of Elizabeth Gaskell from seeing her photos was that she was like a little stodgy and fusty. And then we learned about her, and she was kind of a wise ass.
Yeah.
And a little bit of a rabble-rouser. Her novels are social novels, which means she wrote them with a real point of view about critiquing society and injustices that she saw. And that can make them not a super fun read. But we did a book club about North and South with our guests on Zoom before we went. And it was really cool to learn a little bit about her, read her book, and then visit her house. And it made her feel like a real person instead of this like musty, dusty old Victorian in a black dress.
When we announced that book club, we said all the things that you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
The book is a little
homeworky.
Yeah.
The shorthand for it is that it's Pride and Prejudice and industrialism. So there's a little bit of romance that is very similar to Pride and Prejudice, but really the novel is about the conflict between workers who want to unionize and the textile mill owners. So super sexy.
Yes. And when we announced the book club, I was expecting, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 people to sign up for the book club. And everybody signed up for the book club.
Enthusiasm was high, and we had great discussions.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Yeah, we did. That's really nice.
One little fun tidbit that I loved about visiting the Elizabeth Gaskell house is that the guide told us a story about Charlotte Bronte visiting Elizabeth Gaskell, and someone else came to the door. And when Elizabeth brought the new guest into the drawing room, she couldn't find Charlotte anywhere. So they had their conversation, the guest leaves, Elizabeth Gaskell comes into the drawing room and eventually finds Charlotte Bronte hiding behind the drapes because she was such an introvert. She didn't want to talk to anyone else.
Yeah. So we had that 90-minute private tour of the Gaskell house, and then we had tea and cake in the tea room, which set us up to be late.
They distracted me by having a used book sale in the room next to the tea room. So we were supposed to eat our tea and cake and leave before the bus left.
Yeah, the plan was like 20 to 30 minutes before everybody was done.
Yes, we were going to skedaddle.
We had a car.
Yes.
And they were going to come in the bus.
So that we could get to the house, get a little set up, and welcome everyone when they arrived, like the good host and hostess that we were trying to be.
Yes.
Except that I got distracted by the used book sale.
Yep.
And Dave got distracted by trying to make the DVD of Pride and Prejudice play on the bus.
Yeah.
And I kept looking at my watch and being like, oh, this is so great. I still have 15 minutes left. We don't have to leave until 1. So we leave.
Yep.
Everyone leaves at the same time.
Yeah.
They get on the bus. The bus pulls away.
Yep.
I see the bus pull away because we are still sitting in our car on the street outside the Elizabeth Gaskell house. Whoops.
So then we chased the bus and we lost.
Oh, if you could have heard the conversation in the car. But then a kind of magical thing happened. It had been cloudy in Manchester. That part of the world can be a little gray.
It was October.
Yeah.
And we were ready for it.
Yeah.
And we had definitely mentioned that prior to getting there.
We had. A lot of people brought boots for muddy weather.
Yep.
One of our guests very famously bought a rain hat specifically for the trip.
Yep.
So we're driving from Manchester to Llangollen, super stressed out in our car because we're late. My fault.
It was a shared fault, but go ahead.
And as we're driving, the clouds are starting to break up. And 5 minutes before we pulled into Trevor Hall driveway, which means the bus was already there, the sun came out and it was like angels sang. Because the house sits on top of a hill overlooking a valley with other rolling hills and sheep and multicolored leaves on the trees. And it was just beautiful. So when we got there, the guests who arrived before we did were wandering around the lawn and looking at the garden and exploring the outside of the house. And it felt really nice.
It did. It felt good. So we unlocked the door. We let everybody in. We do our tour of the house and gardens. Everyone finds their rooms. We ease into Manor House life with a cocktail party, Welsh nibbles, and custom drinks. That night we had dinner in the Great Hall, and then people drifted off to a movie in the drawing room or light chat or reading in their rooms. Do you have any favorite moments from that first night?
I remember sipping the very delicious cocktail that Chris, the caterer, had made for us.
We'll talk more about Chris in a minute.
We will. He made homemade damson gin and made a fizz with Prosecco and his gin. And I was standing on the front porch of the house, taking a sip of my drink, and I looked out, and there were just a bunch of people wandering around the lawn with their own cocktails. It just felt so lovely to look out and be like, oh, I know them and I know them. And it was like the best kind of house party. It just felt really warm and cozy, and the sun was shining. It felt like this moment is really wonderful, and it bodes well for what the rest of the weekend is going to be like.
On Saturday, we started with an optional walk in the woods around the house. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. And then we had a big hot breakfast in the Great Hall. Late morning, we gathered for a book club to talk about our chosen novel. So both weekends picked a different novel. Mm-hmm. They voted on it.
The first weekend was The Remains of the Day by Ishiguro. And the second weekend was The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters.
How did those book clubs feel doing that in the Manor House instead of on Zoom?
Oh, so much better.
Yeah.
It was so awesome. People could talk over each other and interrupt each other, and you could read people's body language and make faces, and it was really cozy. There were multiple rooms in the house where we could have book clubs. In the drawing room, which is the room I was in the first weekend, we were sitting on comfy chairs and the sun was coming in the window. It was wonderful.
One of the things that I thought was really interesting was the first weekend wanted to split into smaller groups.
They did. Yeah, we broke into 3 groups of 8 people each.
And the second weekend wanted to have one big clump of people.
They did.
And I feel like both weekends chose correctly.
Yep.
For those people.
Yep.
The first weekend felt more intimate, and the second weekend felt a little more rowdy.
Yes. Do you think the second week wanted to have our book club together because it was a scary book?
So after the book club, we sat down to a full afternoon tea. We had sandwiches and scones and Welsh treats and the works.
Brith.
Yep.
Special kind of Welsh tea bread.
The afternoon, we had free time, so reading or billiards or parlor games, naps, baths, wandering around the grounds.
People actually took baths in the deep clawfoot tubs in the bathrooms. My imagination is too overactive for me to take baths.
There we go. I think that's the problem, is taking a bath in a manor house in a clawfoot tub in front of a mirror was not your idea of a good time.
How is that not going to go Edward Gorey in like 30 seconds?
In the evening, we had a 6-course dinner in the Great Hall, and after that came the seance show with our illusionist from London, followed by candlelit storytelling from Mel and me in the music room. Do you remember what your favorite thing in the tea stand was?
Well, I can't choose favorites because I love all of my tea friends equally. I will say that the cucumber and cream cheese sandwich was the best of that I've ever had. I really enjoyed the Bara Brith, which is Welsh tea bread where they soak the candied fruit peel in tea overnight and then make a bread that is spread with salted butter when you eat it.
It's got kind of a Christmas fruitcake idea to it, but somehow it's a little bit better, a little crispy and buttery. And
it's because you spread it with salted butter.
Yeah.
It's genius.
Yeah.
Also, I really, really enjoyed the scones with clotted cream and jam, although one minor criticism of our magical caterer, he did them Cornwall style, which is jam first and then clotted cream. I like it the other way.
Clotted cream first, then jam on top.
Devonshire.
Do you remember the sudden quiet during the 6-course dinner?
I do.
So Chris was a fantastic caterer.
I mean, calling him a caterer is like really giving him short shrift.
Yeah.
He was like a co-host to us.
Yes.
Just spontaneously. We had no idea he was going to do that. He was charming. He told stories. He was very warm. And he became a co-host of those meals, which was perfect.
So one of the things Chris did, I think at every meal, but in particular this one, is he would come out and he would present the plate and tell you what it was.
It was no mean feat to get everyone's attention because this was one long table with 24 people around it.
Yeah.
And it was getting pretty rowdy as the night went on.
But at the same time, everybody got used to Chris coming out and everyone would be quiet for a second while he was telling us what we were about to eat because we were all curious.
Yeah.
And the second to last course was sticky toffee pudding.
The most magical dessert.
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine a piece of toffee candy, very buttery and rich and warm, but instead of being crunchy toffee, it's a gooey, soft cake that's served with some creamy custard around it and drizzled with hot toffee sauce. It's caramely and buttery and sweet, just on the verge of being too sweet, but not too sweet. It's just right there.
Right.
And it's warm and gooey.
Chris came out, told us what we were going to eat. Those hit the table, and that room was quiet for a good 4 or 5 minutes.
Dead, silent. It was great.
Sunday was our last morning together. There was another walk. We went to the chapel nearby, took a look at the stained glass there. And then one more big breakfast in the great hall with Welsh cakes and bubble and squeak. After breakfast, we did a Victorian-style group photo on the lawn. There was a photo in the smoking room that I suspect was about 100 years old that we were trying to recreate.
Yeah, it was like family and their servants all gathered in chairs on the lawn.
Yeah.
In kind of that faded black and white.
And then we had a final gathering to say goodbye, and everybody got back on the coach for the ride back to Manchester Airport or the train station, hopefully a little tired and very well fed and with a new stack of books.
And a bunch of new friends.
And a bunch of new friends.
I heard people when they were leaving exchanging mailing addresses.
Yeah.
Okay, so that group photo was actually a really fun experience from my point of view.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know how that was going to go. I just thought it would be really fun for everyone to have the photograph later. I didn't realize that the actual experience of it was going to be such a good time. So do you want to talk about your experience of it? Because you were the photographer and you had to organize everyone.
Yeah. So I have some experience as a photographer, but like the last thing I did was we shot the cookbook. So my experience is taking pictures of food.
That just sits there.
Yeah. And you can prop it up and turn it around and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was really anxious about setting this up, but I had a really good time. Like after I sort of got over the initial anxiety of having 20 people looking at me and being like, well, what now, Dave?
Yeah.
It was great. It just set people up and like gave them little prompts and people went along and it was really nice.
And if you're listening to this and you're like, how on earth was a group photo fun? I'll tell you. In case you need to take a group photo of some people and you want to make it fun, one of the things you did really well is you told people where to stand. So there was none of that like milling around. Where should I go? I don't know what to do. The other thing we did on your suggestion is we grabbed some props from the house. So we had teacups and some books. We found ceramic dogs on a mantle in one of the rooms. So we brought those things out and a few people got to hold props, which if you're an introvert, you know, having a job makes you feel a lot more comfortable. So if you had a prop, it felt like you had something to do. And we had some people sitting and we had some people standing, and you were really good at telling people how to angle their bodies and counting us down so we knew when to make our faces look right. And you also gave us some prompts on what to do with our faces. Do you want to talk about those?
The day before, I was anxious about what I was going to do. And so I just thought up some sort of prompts just to sort of add some interest to it. For a few of them, it was just like, okay, I need your dignified Victorian look. And then for one, it was, I need your 2025 photo face. But then we also got to do things like lean over to the person next to you and pretend you're telling them the juiciest piece of gossip you know. And so we got some really nice group photos of people just sort of talking to each other or interacting like that. So how were you feeling that last morning? Were you more sad or more relieved?
I was super sad. I was super sad that our friends were leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not ashamed to admit, I got a little teary when we were walking them down the driveway and loading their bags into the coach. I was very sad. I'm getting a little emotional right now just talking about it. I'm not even kidding.
At the end of that trip, we set ourselves up for like 5 days in Wales.
To travel on our own.
And it was a little challenging to set up because I wasn't sure if we were just going to want to stay in bed and watch TV and read, or whether we were actually going to go out and want to see whales. So we did a little bit of both.
Yeah, I fully expected to be completely worn out after the adventures of talking to 20 other people for so much time.
Yeah.
I was not. I was energized by the awesomeness of our guests and friends.
Yeah, it was a really good time. Okay. So now that we've visited the weekend, let's roll back and talk about some of the specifics a little bit. So before we opened registration, what were we secretly hoping to do for people?
It's no surprise to anybody who listens to the show that I love books set in a manor house.
Yeah.
And Agatha Christie movie adaptations and the movie Ready or Not and the Downton Abbey movies, all of that. Somewhere along the line, I got it in my head that it would be really fun to take a Strong Sense of Place episode and try to make that happen in the real world. So I couldn't let go of the idea of getting a bunch of people together and taking the trappings of an old-fashioned country house weekend that posh people used to have and updating it so that we were winking at the old traditions, but not making it cosplay and not being too stuffy. I wanted to be fun and cozy, but also in a beautiful environment and having a leisurely afternoon tea.
Right. So sort of to that end, we had a nice afternoon tea, but also we had WhatsApp, but also we had a movie night.
We did. And there wasn't a dress code, but people did get dressed up on Saturday night, which was really fun.
Yeah.
And the house really contributed to that because the house is very beautiful. It's decorated in an eclectic style that combines old chandeliers and old photographs with new family photos. And there's a suit of armor, but there's also a jukebox. The house doesn't feel like a museum. It feels like a very beautiful, comfortable house that people actually live in. And that really helped with the atmosphere a lot.
We looked at dozens and dozens of houses.
We did.
We thought about hotels for a long time, and then we looked at renting manor houses, and we looked at a ton of them. I remember seeing the pictures for Trevor Hall for the first time and being like, well, this is it. We're going to figure this out. Originally, we wanted to do it close to London, so it would be more accessible. Then we saw that house and we were like, well, I guess we're doing it in Wales.
And it turned out that Wales was a great place to do it because there were so many beautiful nature areas around the house. So most people who came added trips before and after and explored Wales.
Which was all news to us. We went to see the house. The house was beautiful, but Wales was like free with purchase and beautiful.
Yeah.
Like it was an amazing add-on to the house. I know you've talked about the lawn already, but I don't know if I can recreate for you how much that lawn sort of feels like a living room, like you're just sitting in this nice space with the valley across the way there. The valley and the hill and the sheep and the horses. And
it made it very easy to understand why rich people built big houses on top of hills and invited all of their friends over.
Yeah, it absolutely did. So we definitely wanted to mix together the modern with that classic manor house vibe. Mm-hmm. And there were, for me, two other sort of tent poles of the idea, one of which was we wanted to delight people. Mm-hmm. For our episode on amusement parks, I read Wonderland, How Play Made the Modern World by Stephen Johnson. And he divided his chapters into fashion, shopping, music, taste, illusion, games, and public space. And I just used that as like a checklist for what I wanted in this weekend.
Clever.
And the second thing was we wanted to make it nice for introverts because we knew that asking 24 readers together, never having met each other, is a big ask.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make that as comfortable as possible.
Mm-hmm. So given all of that, what were you most nervous about when we were preparing to share this idea with the world.
Whether anybody would care, whether we would have enough people to fill a house twice. And we put it on sale and we sold out in 8.5 minutes. And then we have a waiting list. So that felt really great. That was a big day at the house for us.
I had a lot of sleepless nights wondering if we were going to have anybody who wanted to come.
Let's talk about the house a little bit. Did the house ever spook you a little bit, or did it feel mostly cozy?
During the day, the house felt very cozy, and I loved pretending that that was my house. Like, let's just be clear. From the moment we walked in to set things up for our guests, through the first weekend and the week in between the 2 weekends when we stayed there by ourselves with some of our other friends and family, I really just pretended that was my house.
Mm-hmm.
I loved every minute of it. I loved my creaky floors. I loved my huge chandelier. I loved at night walking through the house and turning out the lights, which brings me to, yeah, sometimes it was a little spooky at night, but mostly because I wanted it to be. I wanted to have the little tickle up the back of my neck. I wanted to let my imagination run wild and think about the scene in Jane Eyre when she hears the weird laugh from upstairs and walk into a room that's only lit by candles and think about the shadows in the corner. Like, I wanted to do all of that, and I did.
Right.
So that was all me, and I knew that was all me. But I will say that one of the bathrooms had a mirror above the sink. And if you were standing and looking in that mirror, you could see the reflection of the wardrobe behind you on the opposite wall, which also had a mirror, which creates that reflection back and forth. You can see
your back and your front.
And I had to use that sink to wash my face at night. I washed my face as quickly as humanly possible and was trying to keep my eyes open while I was also trying to remove my eye makeup. I scared the crap out of myself in the bathroom, but I fully acknowledge that was me.
Yeah.
And it was super fun.
I think the only time I was ever spooked out by the house was when it was just you and me, and we were walking through the house on the sort of last sweep on our way out. And it is a large house. There's a lot going on.
I mean, there are 10 bedrooms spread across 2 floors. And then the downstairs, the rooms kind of flow off of the Great Hall. So you could walk in a circle and keep missing people because they're in a different part of the circle.
Yeah.
And there's a back staircase. So you can be going up the front staircase while someone else is going down the back staircase.
Yeah. It was very clear how in a lot of those Manor House books, how you could never be entirely sure you were alone.
Yes. Where is so-and-so?
Yeah.
And it's also easy to understand how in an Agatha Christie country house murder mystery, someone could be killed and you wouldn't know.
Right.
Because the floors creak a little bit, but other than that, you couldn't really hear anyone.
Yeah. How do you feel about the house now?
I can't wait to go back. I will do just about anything to eat in that great hall and sleep in one of those bedrooms and wake up and look out the window at the lawn stretching down into the valley. I loved it so much. I think if you asked our guests, they all have that kind of affection for the house too. It's not just me being weird Mel who loves a manor house. It was so welcoming and so charming. And we created such a nice community. I think everyone probably felt that way about the house too.
Let's move on to the food.
My other favorite thing about the weekend.
Yeah. So what dish do you keep thinking about now that you're home?
For the Friday cocktail party, I had asked the caterers if they could work lever bread into one of the dishes somehow. Lever bread is a very strange name for seaweed. The seaweed itself, when it's harvested, is called lever. But then when it's turned into something you can eat, they call it lever bread. It is not bread. It's seaweed that's been boiled and cleaned and chopped up. And you use it kind of like an herb to flavor things. So Chris made us these beautiful, perfectly cooked lamb chops and made a sauce with lemon and lever and olive oil and some other herbs. Put that onto the lamb and then pop it into your mouth. It was absolutely delicious. The seaweed has really strong umami flavor and it's a little salty. And the Welsh lamb is very sweet and it had the lemon zest. It was wonderful.
For me, it's going to be the breakfast sandwiches on Saturday morning. We had asked for sort of a sandwich bar, and I was picturing a buffet.
Yes.
But
everything we asked for, he delivered in ways that were more creative and more delicious than I imagined.
yes, Chris is in the habit of over-delivering. But Saturday morning, we had asked for a breakfast sandwich buffet, and I was, again, picturing like a hotel buffet.
Mhm.
And instead, what he did was he had us walk through the kitchen one at a time, and he assembled a breakfast plate for us, which included a sandwich with homemade bread. And then if you wanted a little bit of butter or mayo or what have you.
Brown sauce.
Brown sauce, and then sausages and bacon and eggs on top of the sandwich.
Black pudding.
And then on the side, there were black pudding, I think potatoes as well, coffee. I will be dreaming about that breakfast for a while. It was so nice. So let's talk about what worked and what didn't, and what we changed a little bit.
So you and I are notorious over planners.
Yeah.
What do you think we planned and got really right?
Two things jump to mind. One, we've already talked about, which is building community.
Mhm.
Like, I think that was critical to the whole thing. Was I wanted people to arrive in Wales feeling like they at least knew each other. And I think most of them did. And that really helped with the weekend. But the other one was setting expectations. Like, that is a lesson that I've learned from having a relationship with you, that setting expectations early and often is always a good idea. We did that here. If you go to strongsenseofplace.com/weekend, you'll see a list of almost exactly what we did that weekend.
Mhm.
And that's what we told people we were going to do. And that's what we did, to the extent of like the menu was done, right?
Mhm.
We knew what we were eating. And in this case, I think it was the right thing to do, and it worked really well. Was there one thing you would absolutely do differently next time?
Yeah. If we do this again, I'm not going to get distracted by the used books at the Elizabeth Gaskell house.
Good one. I would also say that our Saturday night plan went a little long for some, and I might rebuild that day so that the events that we had after dinner happened before dinner, and maybe we pushed dinner a little bit later. It was a long day.
It was a spectacular day.
It was a spectacular day with a lot of things in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Although to that point, if I was going to modify this plan in some way, I might just add another day.
Yeah.
Just kind of stretch things out a little bit.
I would definitely consider that. And now that we know Wales a little bit better, I would even think about expanding a few more days so that we could take people out and show them Wales.
See, I just want an extra day so that I can sit in a window seat with a book.
And that would be optional. You could do that. Is there anything we're glad that went wrong because it created a good moment?
I know you have a favorite.
I do.
So just ask yourself that question, Dave.
Okay, this is going to be a little hard to visualize, but stick with me. Near Trevor Hall is this little village, and in the little village, there's an aqueduct.
The Pont Casilta Aqueduct.
Yes. So that aqueduct carries water because it's an aqueduct, but you can also walk on it.
Mhm.
The village is on the side of a hill. The aqueduct stretches out over the valley. You can walk on the aqueduct and look out over the valley.
You can also float over the aqueduct.
Yes.
They call it the stream in the sky.
Yes. It is gorgeous.
It's also 125 feet or 38 meters off the ground.
Yes.
So it's also a little terrifying.
On, I think, the Wednesday before the weekend started, we wanted to make sure that you could get out to the aqueduct and see everything and get back in a reasonable amount of time for breakfast.
Yes. And we wanted to make sure that it was a nice walk and not too challenging.
And it is. It's all of those things. You can get out there, you can get back.
In like an hour and change.
You go through like a couple of fields. There are horses, there are sheep,
You go through a really cool stone tunnel. You walk along the Llangollen Canal.
Yes. So Saturday morning, everybody gets up and almost everybody goes, which was a surprise to me.
Yeah, I thought we were going to have like a handful of people who were happy to get up early and go for a walk, and that everyone else was going to want to lounge in their fancy beds.
Same. But we had like 20 people.
Yeah, almost everyone went on the walk.
So we do the walk with the 20 people. They're all following us. We go across the road and through the field and down through the woods and
Hi
out
to
to
the
the bridge
horses.
and all that stuff. And we get out to the aqueduct, and there is a huge gate, and it's closed.
I didn't even notice the gate the first time we went.
Because it's so huge.
And it was open.
I didn't know that you could close the aqueduct. And we're sitting there wondering what we're going to do now, because 20 people are looking at us with what are we going to do now visions in
Yes.
their eyes.
My inner, you're a disappointment to everyone voice is screaming at me that you've dragged people out of their nice, comfy beds and they can't even get to the aqueduct now.
And we're thinking about like, shall we send out a scouting party? Do we all go together? Some people are using their phones to try to figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all waiting there. And this local man comes walking down the street.
With his chihuahua.
Yes, with his cute little chihuahua. The man does not instantly look approachable.
He does not.
He looks a little grouchy, but
He does.
also I'm desperate. So
Yeah.
I'm like, excuse me, we wanted to get to the aqueduct. The gate's closed. Is there another way into the aqueduct? And he looks at me, and I'm really worried about the next words that are coming out of his mouth. And he says, oh, sure, follow me.
I'll take you there.
And that was how we met Rupert and his dog, Toby. Rupert walked us around over the bridge, down through a parking lot. You just go down there and it'll be right there. And he said, are you new here? We said, yeah, we are. And he's like, okay, well, and he launches into this 3-point plan of what we need to do while we're there, which includes going to a restaurant called the D-Side.
Because it's perched right on the side of the D River.
Right. And getting the chicken pasta, which I think he called chicken pasta.
He did. And he was very emphatic that we needed to eat it.
And he wasn't wrong about that. We went a few days later. I had the chicken pasta, and it was fantastic. Anyway, so Rupert, his dog Toby, took us over, showed us how to get into the aqueduct. We walk out onto the aqueduct. It's beautiful. It's lovely. And as we're looking out over this huge valley from the aqueduct, 3 hot air balloons ascended from the valley. Wow, this is truly magical.
It really was.
So, yeah, that went wrong, and then it went really, really right. Let's get to the question that everybody has been asking us, which is the hard one. Will we do it again?
Not being coy, we really aren't sure yet.
Yeah, we don't know.
We really enjoyed it.
We really enjoyed it. I think the people who went really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic time. We'd love to see the house in Wales again.
As soon as we know, we will let all of you know.
Oh, yeah.
And if this sounds like something you would like to do, we do have a waiting list. So you can join that. That will be transformed from waiting list into mailing list to let everyone know if and when tickets are going on sale for next year.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to do that, it's at strongsenseofplace.com/weekend.
So let's talk about After Trevor Hall. If you find yourself in North Wales, whether or not you're going to a Manor House weekend, we snuck in a few things on our own that were absolutely worth it.
One of the things that I mentioned in our Wales episode last week is that Wales is a spectacular place for people who want to do outdoorsy things and for readers who just want to potentially sit by a fire and read a book. After our bookish adventures with all of our Strong Sense of Place friends, we kind of went all in on the outdoorsy stuff. And I don't know that that was necessarily by design, but that's kind of how it went. And it was wonderful. So I thought we could just briefly talk about some of the things we did in case people who are listening also want to try those things.
Yeah.
So the first thing is the Offa's Dyke Path, which, like all other things in Wales, is really rooted in history. We talked about the magical borderlands in our Wales episode. The border between Wales and England is 160 miles or 260 kilometers long, north to south. And in the 8th century, that line, that entire line, was marked by a sort of mound. I don't know how to describe it. It's basically a dirt mound with kind of valley on one side of it to form a physical border between the two countries.
It's a defensive barrier from the age of swords and arrows.
Right. And it was built by King Offa, hence the name. So I went digging in the history a little bit. And for a long time, people did think it was a defensive border. But now, most historians agree that it was mostly symbolic. It was just a way for him to show off.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
But all of that aside, today, a pretty amazing hiking trail runs along the whole thing. It's called the Offa's Dyke Path. It's kind of like the Welsh version of the Appalachian Trail. You can hike the whole thing in somewhere between 12 and 14 days. But more relevant to our interests, because we like short hikes with lots of food after them, there are also segments that you can do in an hour or an afternoon, and it's all very well mapped out and documented. So if you are a hiker, Wales is a fantastic place to do that. And I say hike, but a lot of it is just a walk. It's just a ramble. And if you want to do more serious hiking, you could go to Snowdonia National Park. A lot of people are attracted to Snowdonia because Snowdon, the tallest mountain in Wales, is in the park.
Yeah.
And that's about an 8-hour hike round trip. And some of it is steep. I don't think it's very technical, but it's not a casual walk on a path, let's say. So you picked a great trail for us. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, we walked around a lake called Llyn Idwal. It's a circular trail around a lake that's formed by glaciers. It's kind of a little mini amphitheater of rock. It is both accessible, it's easy to get to, and dramatic. You feel like you are taking a walk sometime in maybe, 850.
And it does feel like you're in the wilderness, even though there's a little visitor center with hot chocolate at the trailhead. But 5 minutes onto the trail, there's nothing around.
Except other people coming the other way.
And dogs.
And dogs, which I found delightful. I can imagine that at certain times of the year it's pretty crowded, but when we went, it was really nice. You'd run into a little family and then you'd see them again on the other side, that kind of thing.
Another walk that we went on that was the opposite, at least for me, of a casual stroll was when we climbed up a hill to Castell Dinas Bran.
Yeah.
This is in Llangollen, and right now it's the ruins of a 13th century castle. But there's been a hill fort there since around 600 BCE, so it's a very ancient spot. And it is perched on top of a big hill. And we approached it from the Trevor Hall side. So we're climbing and climbing and climbing to get to the foot of the hill. So it was a lot of walking up slopes. And then we got to the narrow footpath that goes up to the ruins. And that was straight uphill for about 10 minutes. But we were rewarded by the most beautiful views of the valley. It's like a handmade quilt of different shades of green dotted with trees and sheep. And we brought snacks, which is always a good motivator for me.
If you go, bring snacks. That's my advice.
That's kind of our MO for any hike. When we went on the lake hike, we had Millionaire's shortbread.
That was a good idea.
And when we went to Castell Dinas Bran, we had flapjacks.
We got that Millionaire's shortbread at the same booth that you got the hot chocolate.
It's just good thinking.
It's just good thinking.
While we're on the subject of food and hot drinks, we should talk about that historic tea room that we went to.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say, but I'm going to do my best.
Okay.
Tu Hwint i'r Bont.
Sounded good to me.
Tu Hwint i'r Bont. I don't know what the rhythm's supposed to be. I feel like it should have a little bounce to it, but I don't really know how to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, the name aside, it is a tea room in North Wales that was built in 1480. It was a private home and then became a courthouse. In the fall, when we visited, it looked like a witch's cottage. because it has some vines growing on the outside, but they had lost their leaves. And they had jack-o'-lanterns, and all of the fall foliage was bursting out in red and orange and yellow.
It's next to an old bridge that goes into the village, so that kind of toughens up the whole fairy tale vibe.
Yeah, it looks like a troll lives under that little arch bridge.
A little bit, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Inside, it's got exposed beams and whitewashed walls, and there's a big fireplace and a large table covered in different kinds of layer cakes.
Yeah.
And they have full afternoon tea. You can also just get scones. They have tea sandwiches. They have pate and toast. When we were there were probably maybe 8 or 10 other people in there. And it's a small room with a low ceiling. And there was just this really comforting murmur of conversation and delicious hot tea and perfect scones. It's midway between Snowdonia National Park and the seaside of Conwy and Llandudno. So it's a really good stop when you're out adventuring.
If you get the full tea, go hungry. We saw a woman wrestling with a full plate of pastries and scones and sandwiches. She eventually got a to-go bag.
She looked a little overwhelmed when it hit the table.
To the extent that, like, it was funny to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was also reading a paperback of Welsh legends and folklore.
Yeah.
I slyly took a picture of the cover so I could look it up. And it's an old book that's out of print, which just made me think we should have spoken to her and probably would be best friends by now. Our last tip for things to do in North Wales, Bodnant Gardens.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah. So we had a little time in our sort of transit between Conwy and Manchester. We were going to go back to the airport. We had a little time, and I had looked some things up and saw Bodnant Garden. And
you should see his face right now. He's sort of like...
I mean...
the enthusiasm on your face, I think, is low.
Yeah, it was pretty low. I was like, okay.
Sure.
A garden. I mean, all right. And we got there, and it's not really a garden.
It is by English standards. That's what they call a garden.
If you're vastly wealthy, it's a garden.
Yes.
But it's really more of a magical forest.
That's true.
It has many, many paths. It goes through this lovely forest.
To give you a sense of the size, it's about 2 hours to do a loop around the perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even see all of the interior of the garden.
Yeah.
We just did most of the perimeter loop, and that was about 2 hours. So it's a big space.
There are trees from around the world.
Mm-hmm.
There is a very sort of meticulously cared for pond system with bridges that run over it. It's the sort of place where, yeah, if you suddenly saw a dwarf or an elf, you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. That checks out. And there are a few places to eat in this forest. So you can stop and have a scone and a hot chocolate and talk to the local people and then be on your way.
Make friends with a little bird who lands on your table.
Yeah, we did that. And it was just shockingly lovely. Just bracingly like, oh, this is what I would do if I had millions of dollars.
Yeah. It was a very rainy day, and we almost turned back at the gate because it was a little unpleasant outside. But they have huge yellow umbrellas that they loan you while you're visiting. And we decided to just go for it. And I'm so glad that we did. There was mist, there was sunshine, there was rain. The fall foliage was bursting out like flames. It was absolutely a magical forest day. We loved it so much, we actually splashed out for the coffee table book of photographs and the history of the garden, which, by the way, is one of the few gardens that was actually owned and developed by one family across generations. This thing has been passed down through the family. They still own the house there and live in it. And they have this magical playground that they share with everyone else.
Yeah. So if you are headed to Wales, those are a few things you can do. So let's talk about a few takeaways for people who aren't in the habit of renting a manor house.
Sure. Because I think there's some things people could do to kind of create a similar experience, right?
Yeah.
If you have a book club or a casual group of friends who you can get to read a book.
Yeah.
You could maybe do something similar. You can either start with the book or start with a destination. So let's say you pick a place that you've all wanted to visit. You pick a book that is set in that place, and you set the date to go there in the future.
Yeah.
So that you can have periodic meetings leading up to it, generate excitement, get to know more about the area, maybe read supplemental books that go with the book you're going to discuss at your weekend retreat, make recipes that go along with the book. There's all kinds of things you can do to get that excitement going before you go on the trip.
Right.
And then when you get to your destination, you have a book club there. You maybe have a fancy dinner. Getting dressed up for dinner was really fun. And you can take some of those little bits of what we did and create your own sense of place somewhere that is important or relevant to you and your friends or family.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of sort of extra credit work in what you're talking about. The core of it is get together with some people you like, go somewhere and read a book and talk about it. And I think that's a fantastic idea. Like, I love all of that. And then, all of the rest of it, sure. Yes, do that too.
I'm a
really
little
fun.
extra.
One of the things that this weekend did for me is sort of like with any other creative work, realizing that you do the work and then you let it go. It's like writing a song. At some point, you just have to sing it and see if people enjoy it. And I think that might be good advice as we head into the holiday season.
Absolutely.
That you make it as nice as you can, and then you kind of take your hands off and let people do what they're going to do.
The benefits of that are that, one, you can't control what people's reaction is going to be anyway. So you kind of, to preserve your own sanity and to let them enjoy it the way they want to enjoy it, you kind of have to let it go. And two, when you do that, you get to enjoy it too.
Yeah.
You can just sit down and have a little glass of something or a nice cup of tea and enjoy the environment that you've created.
Yeah. The third thing that I wanted to mention is when we came home, we had too much stuff.
That is such an understatement.
Yeah.
We had too much stuff when we went.
We had too much stuff when we went. That's true. But when we came home, we had stuff that we'd purchased on the way. We had books from Book Exchange, food that we hadn't eaten and wanted to hold on to that was packaged food.
Souvenirs. And really nice gifts from our guests who came to Trevor Hall.
Yeah. And we knew we weren't going to be able to get all that stuff on the plane, which we were quite upset about. So we went dumpster diving and we found a nice box.
We found a heavy duty bakery box that was double thickness. It was very heavy even when it was empty. We bought some tape.
Yep.
Put it back together.
Right. Taped up the box, found the local post office, went there, met the nice post office guy.
I just have to insert here that we were in Conway, which is a very small town, and the post office is inside the grocery store.
Yeah.
It's not really a post office. There's a counter where the guy alternates between checking out the grocery store customers and manning the post office window.
Yep.
It would have been really funny if he had two hats and changed them when he moved back and forth between the two. Anyway, when we were waiting in line, there was a woman behind us who also had a box, and we were in line for quite a while. So she and I were having a little conversation. I learned two things about her that made me feel like I could have been in an episode of Midsummer Murders. One, she owned the toy store down the street. And two, she was returning a box of scripts because she had helped with the community theater where they put on the musical version of Mean Girls, and she had to send the scripts back to London. And it just felt like a character in Midsummer Murders.
So we get our box of stuff, we give it to the guy, we send it to the Czech Republic. Delivery in the Czech Republic is sometimes spotty. So it took about a month for us to get that box back. In that time, we had forgotten a lot of the things that were in that box.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got it back, what we decided to do was wrap it up and put it under the tree.
So now we have this enormous box. Who knows what all is in there?
Yeah.
And we're going to open it on Christmas morning.
Yeah. So here's my advice. If you go traveling, consider putting together a box of surprises for yourself, forget what's in the box, ship it to yourself, maybe wait a little bit to open it, and then open it later and be delighted at what past you has gotten future you.
Before we wrap up, I want to say thank you to two people who helped us pull this whole thing off. Our friends, Ellen and Jen, who are also strong sense of place listeners and have been supporters from the beginning.
Yeah.
We're so grateful to them. We couldn't have pulled off this event without them. And when I think about them, I also think about all the other people that made this thing possible. Like, we've just spent, I don't know, an hour talking about ourselves and our experience.
Right.
None of that happens without the guests who came and put their trust in us to give them the experience we promised them from the beginning. We had Chris and his amazing catering team that was his family and made us feel like we were all friends. And Louise, the woman who owns the house, was very welcoming and made it clear that as long as we were staying there, it was our house and she was the guest when she came in. It rejuvenated my spirit to be around people like that.
It was a life-affirming experience overall.
It really was. And the guests who came with optimism and enthusiasm and brought a real sense of community to the whole endeavor. So it didn't feel like a package tour. It felt like a community, which is such an overused word, but that's what it felt like. Everywhere I went in the house or on the grounds, I saw a friendly, warm face. And that is down to the guests who came and Jen and Ellen helping us create an environment where everybody could really connect. And we're so grateful to the people who came and to the people who helped us make it happen.
Yeah, I have so much gratitude for everybody who was involved in this. Just, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being the best version of yourself. Thank you for being kind. So that's our story. We rented a manor house. We had a bunch of people show up. It was very delightful for us. It was lovely. It was everything I hoped it would be. I hope you've enjoyed this trip with us. We'll be back next week with our episode about Christmas.
It's going to get holly jolly up in here.
Thanks for listening to High Winds and Mermaids.
That's my toast.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Goodbye, Kyle!
Did the sound of those words call to you like Pavlov's dog? Then you might enjoy our podcast, Turtle Time.
Every week, you can join me, Riley Hamilton, and my co-host, Amy Scarlatta, as we cover the most pressing Bravo news and dig into the new episodes to answer important questions like, who the hell is Adrian Malouf in this world?
Listen to Turtle Time on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes every Wednesday and Friday.